She was a trailblazer, a legend, and a witness to history. Before her final curtain call, Nichelle Nichols broke her silence, revealing what really happened behind the scenes of Star Trek. Truth, long buried, is finally out. Before her death, Nichelle Nichols, the legendary woman who brought Lieutenant Uhura to life on Star Trek, finally spoke the truth she had buried for decades. While the world celebrated her as a groundbreaking icon, few knew the pain and prejudice she endured behind the camera. Her silence was deafening until she broke it. What really happened on the set of Star Trek? Why did she almost walk away from it all? And how did her quiet revolution change the future for women of color on Earth and beyond? This is the story they didn't want told. When Star Trek first aired in 1966, it painted a radical vision. A future where humans of all races, genders, and backgrounds work together in harmony among the stars. On the bridge of the starship Enterprise sat Lieutenant Uhura, poised, intelligent, and fiercely capable in her crimson uniform. To millions, she was a symbol of progress. But to Nichelle Nichols, the woman behind the character, reality told a different story. In an era where black women were rarely seen outside the roles of maids, servants, or comic relief, Nichols stood out. Not because of her race, but because Uhura was indispensable. She wasn't window dressing, she was mission critical. For young black girls watching at home, it was revolutionary. Here was someone who looked like them, commanding respect, communicating with starships, holding her ground next to Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. But off screen, things were far from harmonious. Despite her dignified presence on screen, Nichols often felt invisible on set. Her lines were cut, her face was absent from promotional materials. Scripts would be handed out, and hers would include barely a sentence. Some producers, it seemed, wanted her in the frame, but not in the spotlight. She later admitted, "There were moments I felt completely erased. It wasn't just creative decisions, it was erasure." And yet, she endured. Not for herself, but for the little girls watching. Among those inspired, a young Whoopi Goldberg who ran through her house yelling, "Come quick, there's a black lady on TV, and she ain't no maid." Years later, another young woman, Mae Jemison, would become the first black woman in space. Her inspiration? Nichelle Nichols. The weight of representation sat heavily on Nichols' shoulders, but she carried it with grace, even as it wore her down. Born Grace Nichols on December 28, 1932, in Robbins, Illinois, she came from humble but remarkable beginnings. Her father was a factory worker, mayor, and magistrate. Her mother, a homemaker. Grace didn't like her name, so her parents offered a new one, Nichelle, meaning victorious maiden. That name would prove prophetic. By age 12, she was training at the Chicago Ballet Academy. By her 20s, she was dazzling audiences across the US with jazz legends like Duke Ellington and Lionel Hampton. In 1959, she graced the screen as a dancer in Porgy and Bess. Her big break? A daring musical called Kicks and Co. that caught the eye of none other than Hugh Hefner, who hired her to sing at the Playboy Club. She modeled. She performed in Carmen Jones and For My People. Her performance in James Baldwin's Blues for Mr. Charlie drew critical praise. And in 1967, she became one of the first black women to appear on the cover of Ebony magazine. She was, in every sense, a rising star. But it was Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, who offered her the role that would cement her leg. And yet, she almost walked away from it all. By the end of season 1, Nichols had had enough. She felt sidelined, silenced, and invisible, so she handed in her resignation. That weekend, at an NAACP fundraiser, she ran into none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He smiled, shook her hand, and said, "You are the first non-stereotypical role portrayed by a black woman in television history." Stunned, she confessed that she had just quit the show. Dr. King's smile vanished. "You cannot leave. You have opened a door that must remain open for others to walk through." Those words changed everything. Nichols tore up her resignation, and she never looked back. Nichelle Nichols was more than a cast member. She was a pioneer. She blazed a trail through the darkness of discrimination with poise, determination, and unshakable belief in the future. Her role as Uhura wasn't just science fiction. It was social revolution. Behind her composed face and measured voice was a woman fighting a war for visibility, dignity, and change. She endured pain so others could dream bigger. She was the future before the world was ready to see. Though she may now rest among the stars, Nichelle Nichols' light will never dim. Because once upon a time, in a galaxy not so far away, she showed us what was truly possible. Nichelle Nichols wasn't just the Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. She was a beacon of progress in a time when few black women had roles like hers on American television. With her poised elegance and undeniable skill, she wasn't simply part of the Enterprise crew. She belonged in that futuristic world. She behind the scenes, the story was far more complicated. Nichols later opened up about the frustration she felt, how her lines were cut, her character's importance minimized, and her contributions overlooked. The weight of being a groundbreaking figure wasn't enough to shield her from feeling invisible. After the first season, Nichols reached a breaking point. She made a bold choice. She decided to quit. The lure of Broadway, where her heart truly belonged, beckoned her back to the stage. Theater had always been her dream, and an offer to return arrived at just the right moment. And she sat down with Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry to hand in her resignation and listened quietly. Roddenberry didn't try to persuade her immediately. Instead, he said, "Take the weekend. If you still want to leave on Monday, I'll support your decision." That weekend would change everything. At an NAACP banquet, Nichols expected to meet a devoted Star Trek fan. Instead, the man who approached her was one of the most influential figures in American history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. With warmth and deep admiration, Dr. King praised Nichols, not just for her acting, but for what she represented. He told her that her role on Star Trek was a powerful statement, a symbol of hope and possibility for Black Americans across the country. He explained how her presence on the show was more than entertainment. It was a protest in itself, an act of courage that opened doors and shifted minds. Listening to those words, Nichols realized she couldn't walk alone. Not now. When Monday came, she returned to Roddenberry's office with a renewed purpose. Sharing Dr. King's message, she found her mentor moved to tears. Roddenberry had always fought to build a cast that reflected the diverse world he envisioned, where race, gender, and background didn't limit anyone's potential. With his unwavering support and Dr. King's inspiration, Nichols stayed. Nichols' decision to remain on Star Trek created ripples far beyond the television screen. Young Whoopi Goldberg saw Uhura and realized Black women belonged in the future too, so much so, she later joined Star Trek: The Next Generation as Guinan, a role crafted just for her. Mae Jemison, the first Black woman to travel into space, credited Nichols as her inspiration. Through all the challenges and setbacks, Nichols held firm, knowing her role was about more than herself. It was about paving the way for others to dream bigger and reach higher. In 1968, Star Trek broke new ground once again, but this time with a kiss. On the episode Plato's Stepchildren, Lieutenant Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, shared a kiss with Captain Kirk, William Shatner. It was one of the first interracial kisses ever broadcast on American television, and it sparked both controversy and courage. NBC, the network airing Star Trek, feared a backlash. The country was deeply divided by racial tensions, and the thought of a black woman and white man kissing in prime time seemed too bold. The network demanded the scene be reshot without the kiss. Nichols and Shatner weren't having it. In fact, Shatner intentionally sabotaged the alternate takes by making silly faces or looking away, ensuring the only usable footage was the original kiss. When the episode aired on November 22nd, 1968, the reaction surprised many. Rather than widespread outrage, the scene sparked conversations and applause. It became a milestone moment, one of courage, love, and a step toward breaking down barriers. When the Plato's Stepchildren episode aired, NBC braced for a backlash. Yet instead of angry letters, the network was flooded with praise. Fans were thrilled to see something new and daring on television, something that felt like a genuine step forward. Sure, a few viewers disapproved, but their voices were drowned out by the majority who saw the kiss as a symbol of progress and hope. Nichols later shared a particularly striking letter from a white man living in the South. He admitted he didn't approve of interracial relationships, but confessed that witnessing the scene had moved him. His words, rooted in old prejudices, revealed that even the hardest hearts were beginning to change. The kiss itself wasn't a typical romantic moment. It was framed by mind control in the story, but its real-world impact was undeniable. For many, seeing two people of different races share a tender, unashamed moment on national television was revolutionary. It quietly tore down barriers, telling viewers, whether ready or not, that the world was moving toward equality. For Nichols, this wasn't just another scripted scene. It was a milestone in her career and her life. Before that kiss, Nichols had already shattered stereotypes by playing Lieutenant Uhura, an intelligent, respected officer vital to the Enterprise crew. Unlike the typical roles black women were often relegated to, Uhura was portrayed as capable, dignified, and essential. That iconic kiss expanded this legacy, showing that love and respect don't recognize skin color or racial divides. Over the decades, it has been hailed not only as a landmark moment in television history, but also as a powerful cultural milestone in America's long journey toward racial equality. Young viewers saw a vision of a future where race was no barrier to connection or respect, where people could come together as equals. Nichols often joked about the kiss at public events, but never lost sight of its profound significance. They didn't make a spectacle of it, they simply walked through it, smoothly, confidently, and courageously. That's what made the moment unforgettable. Though Star Trek ended in 1969, Nichols' connection to the franchise remains strong. He lent her voice to the animated series, starring in the memorable episode The Lorelei Signal, where Uhura took command of the Enterprise, a role Nichols had long wished for during the original. She appeared as Uhura in 6 Star Trek movies, with her final film role in Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country, delighting fans once again on the big screen. In 1994, Nichols published her autobiography, Beyond Uhura, Star Trek and Other Memories, sharing candid insights about her career and experiences. One notable detail: although offered a role on Mannix during Star Trek's final season, Roddenberry insisted she honor her contract, keeping her firmly tied to the Enterprise. Between Star Trek and its later incarnations, Nichols embraced diverse roles across film and television. In 1967, she appeared as a secretary in Doctor You've Got to Be Kidding, and in 1974, she took a daring turn as a tough man, opposite Isaac Hayes in the blaxploitation film Truck Turner, showcasing her range beyond sci-fi. Her voice acting career flourished too. Nichols lent her voice to popular shows like Futurama, voicing characters ranging from a member of the Vice Presidential Action Rangers to the preserved head of Uhura herself, a quirky nod to her iconic role. She also voiced Diane Maza in Gargoyles and Thoth Kopera in Batman, the animated series, proving her versatility. In 2004, Nichols appeared as herself on The Simpsons episode Simple Simpson and played Cuba Gooding Jr.'s mother in Snow Dogs. She starred in the indie film Lady Magdalene's in 2006, where she also served as executive producer and choreographer, singing 3 songs, 2 of which she wrote, highlighting her multifaceted talent. On stage, Nichols earned 2 Sarah Siddons Award nominations in Chicago for her performances in Kicks and the Blacks, earning acclaim for her theatrical prowess. On television, she portrayed Nana Dawson on NBC's Heroes, a fierce grandmother navigating life after Hurricane Katrina, one of her most complex roles. Her later work included roles in The Torturer, 2008, the musical sci-fi comedy The Cabonauts, 2009, and a recurring role on The Young and the Restless, 2016, earning a Daytime Emmy nomination for Outstanding Guest Performance. Nichols viewed her Star Trek experience as more than acting. It was about forging relationships that shaped her life. Her dynamic with William Shatner, played Captain Kirk, was complicated. Though they shared groundbreaking scenes like the historic kiss, off-screen tensions sometimes surfaced. Over time, however, they reconciled and developed mutual respect. In contrast, Leonard Nimoy, who portrayed Spock, was a steadfast ally. Nimoy treated Nichols with kindness, respect, and genuine equality, something Nichols valued deeply amid the challenges of being one of the few black women in a prominent TV role. His support gave Nichols confidence, helping her feel truly part of the team. Their close friendship was a rare and cherished source of strength for her. George Takei, who played Sulu, was a bright spot during Nichelle Nichols' time on Star Trek. Known for his kindness and respect, Takei brought laughter and joy to the cast. Their friendship endured long after the series ended, proving the strong bonds formed behind the scenes. DeForest Kelley, famous as Dr. McCoy, was someone Nichols deeply trusted and admired. His calm demeanor and consistent kindness made him a steady presence on the sometimes tense set. Kelley treated everyone fairly and respectfully throughout the entire series, making a lasting impression on Nichols. These relationships shaped Nichols' experience on Star Trek. While she didn't get along with everyone, she formed genuine friendships that offered comfort and encouragement, some blossoming slowly, others instantly. Nichelle Nichols' journey extended far beyond Star Trek. Reflecting on her career near the end of her life, she expressed gratitude for the opportunities and the impact she made. Though she faced doubts and obstacles early on, she looked back with no regrets. Nichols understood that portraying Lieutenant Uhura wasn't just about acting. It was about inspiring change and hope in society. After the show ended, Nichols shifted her focus to real space exploration. Fueled by her passion for the stars, she partnered with NASA to promote diversity in the space program. Thanks to her leadership and advocacy, pioneers like Dr. Sally Ride and Colonel Guion Bluford broke new ground, following in the footsteps of trailblazers such as Judith Resnick and Ronald McNair. Nichols considered this advocacy one of her greatest achievements. She remained active in space-related initiatives, serving on boards and supporting science education. In In 2015, she even took a special NASA flight that observed Mars and Saturn from high above her, an experience that symbolized her lifelong connection to the cosmos. In her later years, Nichols greeted fans with the same warmth and kindness she always showed. Her messages of hope were simple but powerful. Keep dreaming, keep striving, and welcome everyone on the journey forward. Besides acting, Nichols showcased her musical talents by singing in multiple episodes of Star Trek and releasing 2 albums, one of classic songs and another themed around space and science. She chose to focus on the positive, acknowledging the challenges but celebrating the successes that marked her life. The documentary Woman in Motion tells the story of her pivotal role in revolutionizing space exploration. In her autobiography, Nichols revealed a brief romance with Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry during the 1990s, ending when she learned he was dating Majel Barrett, who played nurse Christine Chapman. She also recounted a short but passionate relationship with singer Sammy Davis Jr. in 1959. Nichols was married twice. Her first marriage to dancer Foster Johnson in 1951 produced a son, Kyle Johnson, but ended in the same year. She later married Duke Mondy in 1968. They divorced 4 years later. Her personal life had hardships too. Her brother Thomas was a member of the Heaven's Gate cult and died during their tragic mass suicide in 1997. Despite such trials, Nichols experienced joyful moments like meeting President Barack Obama in 2012. The president admitted to having a crush on her as a young man and was a huge Star Trek fan, making the meeting particularly special. In 2015, Nichols suffered a minor stroke but began therapy and recovery. In 2018, it was revealed she had dementia, leading her to step back from public life. Around the same time, concerns arose about her care and management, prompting her son to seek conservatorship to protect her well-being. Despite legal disputes involving her former manager, Nichols maintained the respect and love of fans worldwide. She passed away on July 30, 2022 in Silver City, New Mexico at the age of 89 due to heart failure. In a fitting tribute to her legacy, Nichols' ashes were sent into deep space alongside those of Star Trek legend Majel Barrett and filmmaker Douglas Trumbull, symbolizing a life that truly aimed for the stars. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the next video on your screen.